And we are live here Friday on the Independent Investor channel. Want to make sure everybody's doing okay. Everybody's making it. Do me a favor, everybody check your pulse. Make sure that you've made it just yet another week and make sure that you can maybe set yourself up, I don't know, to survive another week. Do you think we can make it? Maybe we can make it together. See, my project is all about celebrating you. This is one of my favorite pieces that I do during the week. This is 60 minutes of a live stream where I open up the broadcast studio. There is a link in the description or in the comments section. You guys are willing to kick in. You can talk with me if you want to. That'd be awesome. But this really is all about celebrating individuality and really kind of putting a pause on what a lot of people would just have you believe is an accelerated pace to destruction. Okay. Everybody tells you, live in the now, man, live in the now. In the stock market, man, you want to live into tomorrow. That's what you want to do. All right. Live in the now. What the hell does that mean? If you were going to live in the now this week, you would have just sold everything and been like, all right, yeah, I'm done. I tried. I'm no good. I suck. I'm out. 1 week in the stock market means nothing. Neither is a month or a year, really. And when we chronicle these cycles that we go through in stock market investing, we often find ourselves in times of uh, complete boom and everything's great and we're building portfolios and it's a lot more fun to talk about. It's awesome. I just checked my subscriber count tonight and I think I had I lost like 49 subscribers over the last, I don't know, month or so. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. It's called trimming the fat. We do it all the time in military. All right. We trim the fat. I don't want people here that don't want to be here. The irony in the whole thing, quite honestly, is the fact that I can actually shed light on the fact that people are leaving my channel and actually laugh about it, okay, and say good riddance is the very reason that you should probably subscribe to me in the first place, okay? Because I truly do put your individual traits and characteristics at the forefront, okay? I think regular people who, um, we're living regular lives and I'm not one of those guys that want to come on and I want to be scripted. I want to give you exactly what YouTube tells me that I can give you if I just do the search tags just right and I can deliver it to the right amount of people and they can watch you whether or not they want to watch you or not. I just really don't care. Okay. I've got the goods. It's that simple. You guys come on and you get a little bit of motivation from me. You want me to be all Debbie Downer about the stock market? I can't do that because I'm happy about so many other things in life, as you should be. You should be. See, that's a talent of mine is that I see in people a lot of good that even a lot of individuals going through different phases of their life have a hard time seeing in themselves. Okay. And you just need to get past that. All right. It's very real if you can't see those things. It's very real if you're working on certain aspects or you're working really, really hard on the financial piece right now and it's just not jiving for you. If you're working on that relationship piece, if you're working on that professional piece with your profession, when you're looking at the real estate and you're kind of looking at how you can kind of make sense of this deal right now. Okay. There's a few winners right now that are sitting on low interest rate mortgages right now. The most people are in a tough spot. Do you sell now into a fairly weak market? I think the consumer is actually really frozen right now. I really do. Like you looking at the volatility over the last couple of days in the stock market are not indicative of a regular market. It's indicative of a market that's really, really trying to absorb a lot going on right now. Okay. I think Fed Chairman Powell from this week actually returned a lot more back to a much more hawkish stance on his address. I watched the speech and I kept saying, Jesus, can you just say something good? Okay. And it's interesting what we were so excited about let's say 5 years ago, and where we are now, closing out 2022. Are we that worse off? And a lot of people would say, absolutely, we're so worse off. Ryan, watch the news. Okay. I don't put 100% of stock in the news. Okay. All right. I can watch, I can drive to Costco just as easy as somebody else, and people are beating each other down to get in the front door and pay that $95 of annual fee to Costco to go in there and get the low priced shopping goods that we all love and enjoy. I go to the mall, okay, and I notice that people are in there with bags that are extending out 6 tiers from their body. It's amazing how they can even get out of the mall with all these bags and stuff. I think it's a status symbol. I think people just enjoy walking around the mall with a number of different bags tiered out from their midsection outward. And it's even better if you can actually hold those bags from different stores, Victoria's Secrets, Nordstrom, right? Foot Locker. You can just add them on there, baby, right? And they can go out multiple tiers. If you've got, 6 layers on one side and 6 layers on the other side, but I'm supposed to believe that somehow the consumer is not spending any money. I don't spend money regardless. Okay. I don't care what's going on in the world. All right. And look how long this shirt has paid me. I do this for a reason. See, it's the same shirt. And I brag about it every single week that I come on, man. It's paying me back. All right. It's paying me back at this point. But, you know, I guess the data that's come through would suggest that we've got potentially a couple of more quarters of some pretty volatile markets. I think closing out the year here in 2022, I think we're going to have a short rally, only to be snuffed out right in the beginning of January. And I think we're probably going to retest the lows. So stand by for rolls. I hope I'm wrong. I usually am when it comes to stock market forecasting. We do it for fun because nobody can do it accurately. All right. So what you think is going to happen from day to day in the stock market is anybody's guess. But I think in January, February, and March of next year, I think we're going to be absorbing a lot of effects of 2022 being a historical year for the increase in interest rates to curb inflation. I think that's really the story of the year. I think that there's been a few systemic shocks to both the consumer and to the real estate market as they sit now. How those things are going to fare out over time will be interesting enough to monitor. But what am I doing? Well, I'm certainly not freaking out. I'm really kind of just on a plane right now, and I've been on a plane for the last now going on, it'll be January of 22 years. So it'll be 24 months removed of what I have engaged with on the independent investor audience as really kind of being choppy waters. It's been volatile. It's been up and down. The market really hasn't moved that much. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot of places to hide in this market. I think now, even with the S&P sitting at 17 times earnings, I think there's a misplace right now in where people are seeking value, if at all. I think the majority of people look at these markets and they're actually on the sideline. So I think if we find any level of strength or any type of relief, any type of stimulus that could kind of shake the market out of this funk, I think you could see a lot of that sideline money flow into the market. And that will provide those unforeseen or unforeseeable catalysts in 2022, 2023 to help drive markets, perhaps maybe in a different direction other than down. Okay. But time will tell. I'm one of those bullish applicators that does not believe that things are as bad as what they are. And it was interesting to me on such a down day. This week was horrible. Adobe blew out the top and bottom line with their business. I think the stock is down from their highs close to 50%. So when you're looking at an S&P that's off right now and still trading at relatively high valuations, let's be real. You look at the incremental pieces of the S&P 500 and it calls into question perhaps some of these stocks that are trading at almost recession levels right now, specifically with financials. You know, healthcare is always a place where you can put your money, and it's been the real winner in 2022. But in my assessment, looking at technology now down, close to 50%. I mean, some of these names are off 50%. I think the NASDAQ is off over 30%. But even to look at, I'm a long-term triple Qs investor, but the TQQQ right here below $20 for the upside potential of really getting some momentum going. I say that with a fundamental crack in the last stock standing, and that is Apple Computers from this year. So it's just going to be interesting to monitor. But technology is and always will be my favorite sector. It always will be. Okay. Google is the same Google that came out and it's just making revolutionary changes in the world. Apple Computers, Microsoft right there at the top, Salesforce.com. These companies are the real deal. Meta Systems, okay? These companies are the real deal. And if you believe that somehow tech is going to dissolve away forever and we're going to, I don't know, have Booble instead of Google, then you're open to your opinion. But I think going through this funk right now and coming off of what has been a very, very hot time in the market over the previous decade, I think it's been really interesting now to have these systemic injects to the market. We went through a global pandemic. We went through some hype and euphoria in the stock market. We're going through some high interest rate environments with inflation, right? And the market doesn't know really how to take that. I think there's some undertones of some bullish activity going on, only to be died down by what I feel like is a pretty tumultuous market where nothing gets favor right now. And to weather the storm and keeping your eyes on the horizon is absolutely the best remedy. But we're going to take a short break, and when we do, we're going to come back, and I'm going to have a special guest on the channel. I see you there, Junior. You the man. Where's the smile? There it is. This guy, when he smiles, man, it makes me smile. Now, if he can have that same effect on y'all, because that's what you need right now, I'm telling you what, I'm just a lowly voice on YouTube, man, for sure. But to put some perspective in this thing, I want you to recall what we've been through over the last just 5 short years. And in the stock market, in retrospect, think about all of the changes that we've incurred as an investor community on YouTube over the last 5 years. If we can incur what we've gone through over the next 5 years, we can certainly incur what it is that's going on right now and set ourselves up for what is going to be coming as this decade starts to unfold in front of us. Be back with you in just a moment, guys. We like to bring family on the channel, that's for sure. And Junior's family, absolutely. Love it, man. Great to see you, my friend. Happy holidays to you and yours. Why don't you give us a quick update? It's been a minute since I talked to you, Junior. What's been going on in the great life of Junior Stock Investor, man?
Thank you, Ryan. Can you hear me clearly before I start?
Loud and clear, man.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank you. It's been a very, very long time. For those who may or may not know me, uh, I've, I used to come on a lot. My current job is extremely busy. I deliver alcohol, so I deliver
Yep.
wine, liquor, and beer. So even tonight is a blessing for me to come on at this time, because usually I'm finishing up probably an hour or two prior, and then driving to Delaware. So I work down in Delaware. But I want to say happy Friday to everybody on the live chat. I hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you guys are gonna have a great weekend. And of course, obviously next weekend, Christmas is coming up.
Yeah.
So That's the time where even if it's a recession, Fed rates, it doesn't matter. We're all going to go out, spend time with our families, eat, drink, use our credit cards, Visa, of course. I got Visa shares, got 50 shares. Hopefully, I get some more down the road in my Roth
Indeed.
IRA. And just want us to tell you guys, regardless of what's happening, of course, with the news, FTX, all this other stuff, stay focused, stay disciplined, stay consistent, and everything's going to pan out. It's the best country in the world, the United States of America. If you invest in great businesses, obviously look at the financials, or even if you don't invest in individual stocks, you do ETS, VOO, SPY. They're all great. It doesn't matter. I I didn't want to go into tangent, but I always hate to see arguments between individual stocks and
Yeah,
index and ETFs. Folks, they both are great. It doesn't matter which one you do, whatever preference you have. Don't focus on the. I don't know why people argue about that. I always find that baffling because they work out great. It's just it all depends on your time horizon and your interest. That's what I would say.
I don't discriminate against strategy.
Mm,
The secret is for individuals to find what strategy is going to work for them. Okay, right, Junior? So, like if you're first starting in the market, then I would encourage that you look at the more basic strategies.
mhm,
See, I'm of the belief, and I've been doing this a long, long time, but when I look at passive investing through ETFs or index funds, I don't think that takes a whole lot of education. And I think it might be a little bit of a bridge or a stretch for people to wrap their mind about around that. But it does not take that much because what I talked about with Kyle last week is that you're only looking to achieve that year over year performance by seeking out that exposure, right? You're not looking to get rich overnight. You're not looking to do any of that. You're looking to put a very disciplined plan in place. I own the index fund. Okay, I own a
mhm.
broad swath of the market. You mentioned VOO. Let's say the S&P 500. Then I can establish a plan to say, look, I can do $250 a month or whatever it is, $125 bi-monthly. You can do something like that, and you
Right.
fund it, and you don't have to you don't have to do anything to it. Whereas with single stock, it's a wonderful, to your point, strategy. I do both, along with many, many other strategies. And I love single stock investing. I think right now there's some values that are down over 50, 60, 70% of some wonderful
Mhm.
companies that have just been really drugged down with the market. And you just have to be willing to do a little bit of homework. You cannot put those on the same playing field with regard to
No.
the necessary education that you need for option A or option B. That's just my 2 cents on it.
And also too, like understanding sentiment, right? So right now, obviously with Jerome Powell, I believe he talked on Wednesday, right? I think
Correct.
raised interest rates 50 basis points, which most of us knew if you guys obviously
Yes.
follow the markets. A great time, another alternative, great time if you guys want a high yield savings account and online banking. I know Ally Markets by Goldman Sachs.
Ooh,
Personally, I use CIT Bank. They're offering right now 3.60 APY in a high yield savings account. Or if you have money that you might not want to touch for 18 months, CD accounts, because I actually set one up for my mom. I believe it's 4.25. It might be higher. Don't
right
quote me
on.
on it, but I believe it's 4.25 APY on an 18-month CDs, which is great because when was the last time we've seen CDs,
Yeah.
this high? It's been a very long time. It's
15
been
years. I remember the day, man, when my checking account would get like 6%. And now it seems like a thing of the past, at least for the last 12 years, the last decade or so, with these
yeah.
really crazy low interest rates. I think this is good for normalization. Now, do I think this prime rate up around 6 or even above 6 is going to be sustainable over the long term? Of course not. It's going to be a
No.
medium to short term thing. And then there's some quantitative easing that's kind of baked into that with some opportunity to actually ease back off to that more target rate of nominal. But they're trying to combat the effects of coming out of what we've experienced over the last couple of years with the effect over the COVID pandemic. I just don't think that people really appreciate how systemic that was of a shock to the system. And I'm of
Oh
the
yeah.
belief, I can't dispute that. I can't. People were suffering at the time when those disbursements were made. I was like, I hope it makes a difference for people because people were
Oh yeah.
suffering. People were suffering, you know. I wasn't one of those that suffered. I hunkered down. I worked from home. You know,
Hmm.
the impacts of me, we were lucky enough to get out of it without family being too poorly impacted. But people were suffering on a lot of different fronts. And I think even some of the mental ramifications of even our children are
Lockdown
are yet
protocols.
to be
Yeah.
understood going forward about how systemic that was. So throwing money at people, you hate to look at that as an all end all solution, but it was what the government had as a tool at the time to help, and now we're paying a small cost for that. And I do say small because I think entering into the COVID pandemic, things were going perfect. And this country, you mentioned how great it is. It's not perfect. We succumb ourselves. We are reliant upon other countries to supply certain vital needs and certain vital products that we didn't even think a bit about that. And now we're evaluating, you know, how reliant we want to be for those resources, and things are kind of in flux right now, Junior, you know?
Yeah, and there's that saying says the trend is your friend. So obviously, like you mentioned before, like right now we're paying a small price as far as inflation, with food, well, oils, actually gas prices have been going down, but consumer good like clothing, things like that have been going up. But also too, there's another light as well too. As far as your more value play stocks, right? Like for example, Pepsi, right? I believe Pepsi year to date, I
Yeah,
just checked it earlier, is up 4%.
I believe that.
Um, so with Pepsi, obviously, it's not just only the Pepsi, beverage sodas or the Gatorade or Aquafina, but they also own the snack division as well. Your
All right.
Doritos, Frito Lay's, Ruffles, Quaker's Life. See, I learn all this because I get excited because my
Yeah.
mother-in-law is invested into Pepsi Co. and she got her, I think her cost basis was 144.
Ooh,
And when we look
nice.
at it, she's excited. And I told her, I was like, don't worry, because you're obviously Pepsi's a stable company. But
Yep.
when you look at other industries, sometimes I tell people don't just look at the main tech, right? Because obviously tech is the big thing. Your Googles, Apples, Amazon, Meta, all that. Obviously that gets reported on heavily. But look at Campbell's Soup, right? I don't know if anybody heard their numbers.
Well
They're up
said.
right now, up high. You look at your obviously your Coke, McDonald's, yeah, they're not your high flyers, but they're also stable companies. I always tell people, oh, AutoZone, phew,
Yeah.
AutoZone. Learning about AutoZone, they buy back a lot of shares, and that's one of the things that I would give out to people if you're investing in individual stocks. Make sure that these companies are buying back their shares at great prices, especially during these times. Because if a company's not buying back their shares, especially during this time, those are the companies you want to stay away from because in the long run, you're not going to get that value and capital appreciation, right? If the company's not wanting to buy back their shares and reduce prices, why would we do it? You know what I mean? That's a silent killer too, is buy back shares because if you have companies that issue more shares, that's not good in the long run because you're not getting that
Yep.
EPS is not growing. Means earning per share. That's not growing. Little things like that, little metrics that they don't actually see in the mainstream. So I would say that by investing companies that have a high ROIC, return on invested capital,
Yep.
right? They're buying back shares because right now these tech companies, it's hard to borrow money, right? That's why with interest rates,
Yeah.
it hinders them. But think about this, guys. If it's a company that people use their products every day, you have nothing to worry about. Just keep a strong mindset. If you don't like volatility like that, ETFs, like I mentioned before, high yield savings account, money market account, and stay away from the noise. There's a lot of noise, of course, with cryptocurrency. I'm not gonna get into cryptocurrency because I'm not into it like that. Other YouTubers that go back and forth. I mean, obviously there's a market for that, but stay focused and consistent until your plan, and you'll be fine.
You know how much I've mentioned cryptocurrency on my channel? I've got 900 videos. I think I did one video where I compared cryptocurrency to Tide and Oreos. And I was like, what would you rather own? Didn't do very well. It fell on deaf ears. It was right during the crypto craze, man. And I was getting
Yeah.
inundated with people like, Ryan, this is it, man. This is the next wave of the future, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that Bitcoin, I believe Bitcoin and crypto actually will find its a utility. The concept is fascinating. Okay. I'm still very fascinated by it, but you have to really be careful and guarded when you're seeking out information for entertainment or
Mhm.
information as far as like instruction in the serious decisions that we call our life decisions. Okay. And this is something that I always try to pose to people is that if you get excited about investing by watching the Independent Investor channel, great. That's exactly what I want. I'm excited about investing. I love it. I eat, breathe, and live this stuff. I absolutely love financial markets. I study them. I read about them. I come on and I share through the Independent Investor channel, and it's enough reciprocation that I can have, even with the small amount of people that are actually leaving the channel. I joked at the top of the live stream, there's still enough fabulous people like yourself and many others that are kind of like-minded with me, Junior, right? So I kind of relate with that. And it gives me a lot of energy to know that there's other people out there that are just as hungry to try to identify what it is that's right for them. And that's the key. So you can get excited, but make sure that you're stepping back and saying, okay, all right, Ryan's talking about this idea that maybe life is better off at becoming or being a participant in the market as opposed to not being a participant. Now the question becomes, how do I seek out being a participant? And those are questions that you really need to identify on your own. And it's not as difficult as people think that it is. I talk to people on a daily basis that tell me that they just are lost. They have no idea where to start. And I just wanted to share with you, Junior, since you're with me tonight on live stream, and thank you for your time, brother. Thank you for coming on, man.
No, thank you for having me.
I pose this to people like this, man. In the last 5 years, and Junior, you've been with me for all of half of it, if not more. You've been with me a long time. Think about 5 years ago when we were talking about when I started the Independent Investor Channel. We were talking about stock fees in the market. We were still
Oh,
paying for stock transactions. Okay, this was just 5 years ago. Then we went into the no fee investment with the Robinhood, right? Just turning the industry on its ear, and this is incredible. And the Robinhood craze came in. Then we're talking about guys like myself who kind of broke this idea, and I really credit myself for this, talking about the idea of personal empowerment, taking control of your own personal finance through self-directed investing with the idea of saving capital over the long term through fees and tax protecting your money. Those two aspects, you can get rich on those two things. And I say it all the time, and I know it falls on deaf ears a lot, but I foot stomp it a lot because it's super important. Robinhood, I mentioned, cryptocurrency, AMC, GameStop, ARK ETFs,
mm,
Tesla, FANG, global pandemic, global conflict, the real estate boom, the interest rate hikes, inflation, 18.2 on the Dow at the low of the pandemic low, March 22, I believe, is where it hit
yep.
that. And here we are at 32,000 on the Dow, right? And a
Yep.
partridge in a pear tree, happy holidays. I need some Tylenol, right? That is what just in 5 short years, man. You know, there's been fads that have come and gone.
Hmm.
Look at the spat craze. Just
Yeah.
punished so many people, and I can think of probably 50 more off the top of my head just to share with people to make them understand that there is a lot of noise out there, but there's a lot of noise all the time. The
Oh,
key is to just sit back and just say, what do I want out of this deal?
and that's the thing, right? There's always going to be noise, right? There's always going to be other people's opinions, right? Especially the media, right? Especially your CNBCs and all that. And that's one of the things that, and Motley Fool too. I actually, and the reason I say Motley Fool because I actually listened to an old episode, a real quick episode back in 2011, when Netflix I think was down about 75% in the past couple months. I forget what the particular problem was. They went through some issue, and they were saying the analysts were saying, Netflix should be looking forward to get bought out by maybe an Amazon or a Microsoft.
Mm,
And this was in 2000, I believe 2011.
for
And you
real.
look at where Netflix is now. Had you sold back then, you would have obviously not only missed out on the gains, but not understand that, hey, regardless of what people say, I'm still going to do the research and I'm going to make my own assessment. And another gem I want to give to people is always when you invest, circle of competence. Just invest in companies that you use or you understand very easily how to make money. I mentioned before, I have Visa. I know no matter what happens in life, even though I can't predict the future, people are always going to pay with a Visa card. It's attached to Chase Bank, Bank of America, it's e-commerce. If I understand people are going to pay with Visa, and Visa makes money off the merchant fees, meaning that any company
Yeah.
use your Visa card, that company has to pay Visa a merchant fee. Now, if it's a big company like Walmart, they're not going to say, hey, when you're paying this transaction, you owe us an extra fee. It's going to be built into the price. But obviously, if you're going to a mom and pop shop, they're going to be, hey, if you're using a card, we have to charge you this percentage because they're putting that merchant fee on the consumers. I actually learned that actually this past year. I never knew that. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
not taught in the mainstream,
No.
but just like an example like that, Visa, that's why I know, okay, I'm gonna stick with this in the long haul because no matter what, people need this product, right?
Yeah. Well, all right, Junior. So listen, man. Okay, you sound like a pretty educated fella on the stock market. All right. So if I'm one of the 1,000 people that are going to catch this live stream, and maybe hundreds of more after it goes live, and they're listening to you and they're like,
Mhm.
man alive, this guy's super smart. That must be what I need to do. Let me ask you a question. How many
Okay.
people out there in the world that may catch this message can do what it is that you're explaining by being a participant in the market, or just saying, this guy, this is too smart for me, I can't do it? How many people out there can actually achieve what it is that you are discussing, being a participant in the market?
I think a lot of people can, and that's the key word, they can. I think a lot of the metrics are emotion, right? The problem is there's a saying I heard, and it always sticks to me to this day. An angry mind is a narrow mind, and what I mean by that is sometimes when you get upset with, obviously if an investment doesn't go your way, you don't have peripherals, right? You always see um just the problem in itself, and you have to. The best thing I can say is desensitized from the stock market, right? Because the stock market's not going to care how you feel, first of all. So desensitize from the stock market, understand
Smart.
that you're not owning just a stock, you're owning a business, right? And what I mean by that is when you own a business, you understand how it makes money, right? Like another example, I own Meta shares. I still own Meta shares. I was owning it when it was crashing these past couple months. I'm down, I believe, 35% from my initial cost basis. Didn't even bat an eye. I have 100 shares. I've talked to my wife,
Nice.
and the reason why I haven't got rid of my shares is because Meta is more than just Facebook itself. It's more than just the regular platform, right? Obviously, they have Instagram Reels, they have the Oculus, Quest 2 Oculus goggles, and WhatsApp. I don't think people understand the scale of WhatsApp. People miss that the last earnings report that their daily active user base went up 4%. They have about 3.6 billion active users on
They
their
do.
platform.
That's
If
right.
anybody can do a Google check to see how many people in the world population we have, and
Yeah.
you do the
9
math.
billion. 9 billion. Yep.
You do the math on
33%.
that. Think about
33%.
a
30%,
lot of these
baby.
countries that don't have internet, and if they had access to internet. And one more gem I want to put out: if somebody could write on the live stream here, can somebody tell me, other than WhatsApp, how do people communicate with somebody outside the US for free?
Yeah.
If
I know
somebody
what it,
can tell me
I
that,
know that I know the answer, but
when you look at stuff like that and when you
it's
do the
legit.
research, you'll
Yeah.
be fine. And another thing too, do your research.
But
Okay.
you'd be like, okay, man. So like you're really good, man. I've known you a while, and so I'm asking these rhetorical questions of you, Junior, hopefully to help somebody out there who can
Yep.
look and say, I don't understand what the heck this Ryan guy's saying, but I relate with this Junior guy. He's speaking plain English, and I get it. Those are single stocks, man. And if somebody says, I don't think the Oculus is the way, I don't think Meta is the way, what
Mhm.
is it that I can relate with this guy in his plan? What is his plan? Why does he invest? What is he looking to establish? And can some of those things relate to me in what message he's trying to convey to me, right? Can you
Mhm.
can you focus a little bit on the plan and say, what if you really spoke with your spouse I mean, you guys are married now, right? You guys got
Yes,
married this
we're
year? Congrats,
Yep, we
brother.
got married in February.
In Feb. Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So
the-
you got family now, right? So you
mm,
discussed this 50-50 in a
mhm.
perfect world. It's about 90-10 for me. I give it up for my wife. That's why I got
Yeah.
17 years on you. You'll get there. You'll get there. But when we talk about, are we just investing to come on and talk every Friday? This is about money, and this is about building financial security. I have no doubt me and you will be fine, Junior. I have no
Mhm.
doubt. My worry is with the masses of people who could really, from an individual perspective, help themselves and therefore help a community of retail investors that somehow I think always gets the backseat. Always. Because I
Mhm.
think they do succumb to the message. They do succumb to this laundry list that I did for everybody before tonight. It's like I'm all over the place. Yeah, Junior seems like a legit guy. Ryan's cool too. But man, I can't take the swings, baby. Help me understand the plan. What's the
The
plan?
pl- Well, I would say the plan is to stick to, like I said, mentioned before, stick to what you know. Also, too, another gem I would say is if anybody likes to read books, go to your free, like I said, free public library. Read books from Warren Buffett to Charlie Mungers. You'll see a trend, and the trend is there's a saying by Mark Twain. I just finally found out who says this trend. They said, "History doesn't always repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme." I'll say that again. History doesn't always repeat itself, but it tends to rhyme. If you look at a lot of the Warren Buffett's shareholder letters from the 60s, 70s, same thing with Charlie Munger way back. Look at all the events that's happened in the past and what's going on now. You'll see a trend, you'll see a rhyme. That's another gem I can give to others too. When you ever see bad news all the time, bad news, that's to deviate retail investors, like because we're retail investors, because I don't know anybody has millions of dollars, but retail investors or investors obviously don't have millions of dollars to buy into the market, right? I'll tell you this: they say these things to deviate you away so the big guys can get the money. And the reason why I know all this stuff, well, I won't say know this, but are
No, I agree with you.
have been exposed to this because the value of time. And what I mean by that is I'm a truck driver, so I drive an hour and a half to work. So that's an hour and a half of different information I'm listening to. That's another gem too. I don't know if you guys are writing this down. Listen to people that you don't tend to agree with. I'm gonna say that again. Listen to people that you don't tend to agree with. You'll get a gem from certain things that they say. You might not like the person, but you might like the message.
Well said. Well said, man.
Okay.
Hmm.
So take that time and and use that time, whatever time is valuable because time is something we never get back. This time that we have right here, you and me, Ryan, is the only time we're going to have in this exact moment that
I
we
know.
have in
I
on
know. I
Friday.
know. I know that, baby. But we're in the pocket right now. All right. I'm not going to
Yeah.
apologize coming on and spending some time with you, connecting through social media. I'm not at your house. I'm down here in New York City. All right.
Mm.
That's where I'm at. Now I'm above you. Now we're neighbors.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to you, baby, I was down in Virginia. All right.
Mm.
But it just goes to this comment right here, right? My
Mm.
neighbors, I think, are going broke. Had a garage sale today, sold their third car. Had to quit the job 2 months because of
Mm.
health, right? So my heart goes out to people. Here's the thing, man. People need to understand when I'm locked in and when I'm done with the live stream, man, I'm sweating because I'm
Mm.
so passionate about this topic. I'm so passionate, but my passion comes from what you just said about time, right? How is it for me, man? I monitor people and just lackadaisically going through life and just kind of doing this and that here and there. It's all good. Just going through. No ferocity, no discipline, no expectations of a better future, right? They do live in the now. They make their paycheck, they look forward to the paycheck, and the paycheck comes in and they spend it. Maybe I'm the bad guy, man. Maybe I shouldn't be so judgmental, but it's
Mhm.
not like that, man. It's really just caring because I've talked to too many people, Junior, who enter into the 50s, 60s, 70s, and they talk to me about nothing but regret. Nothing but regret. So while you got the health and you got the desire and you've got the little bit of smarts and you've got the education to help streamline where it is you need to go. If you can get it from me, great. I do my very best to deliver the goods. If you can't, seek it out. If it's on your own, if it's through the internet, no problem. A lot of the best education can be had for free of charge. But it's a ferocity that I go about this project, which makes me think that people need to realize that their time is finite and
Yeah.
they need to make it happen now, not tomorrow, right now, right now. That's why I look forward to this project so much, because I never know who is going to pop in. And maybe I'm the naive one thinking that we're making a bigger difference than we are. I don't know. But I have these little trickles and injects of the channel every now and then where somebody bought me an email and say, dang, you said something during that live stream that got me thinking, man. And I would have never thought about it had I not been just plumbed in free of charge. It wasn't about money. It was about you giving me a little bit of time and maybe your subscription, right? And sit back
Yeah.
and listen to what a guy has to say. Yep.
Yeah, and like you said, it's that passion, right? Because people feed off of energy, right? I believe in vibes. I don't know if I've ever mentioned before.
Of
I,
course you do. Hell,
one
I do too, but I
yeah,
absolutely.
one thing I like to notice from people is their vibe, right? Their energy, right? Everybody has different energy. There's people that are kind of
Uh,
mellow, right? There's people. Oh, I love that movie. There's people that there's people that are mellow but have a great message. There are people that are outlandish and just over the top. But I
yeah,
realize
yeah,
too that
yeah,
there's a market for everybody, right? So what I mean by that is like even if you're enthusiastic or just chill or anything like that, if people can receive the message, it's going to work. And what happens is it's a choice that you have to make too. You have to make that choice. You can it's one of those things that you can lead a horse through water, but you can't make it drink it, right? You can't make the horse drink the water. So meaning that you have to have that choice, regardless if you have access to information. That's the key. Even if you have access to information, even if somebody's selling you this course or giving it to the T, if you're not making that choice to make that action, it's never going to work out, unfortunately. That's the choice. In life, we have a choice. You do have a choice. Whether you believe it or not, you have that choice. It's gonna take some work. It might take some research, but you gotta get up and make that choice of like, you know what, I want to change not just myself, but my family dynamic. I want to change the way I look at money. I want to change the way I look
yeah,
at
yeah,
when I come home to not talk about work, to spend the time with my wife, to take a bike ride, to go on a trip.
yeah,
Weekends coming up, we got family. When I talk to family members, I'm not even talking about work, even though they might be programmed to. I'm be like, hey, I just learned
yeah,
something new, right? Play games. Early before I even came on, I was just playing with my niece, Uno. We
yeah.
played for 2 hours. And that 2 hours was special because that's something she's gonna remember going down the road, right?
You bet.
She could be, she's 9 now, but even if she's 18, she'll be like, hey, Uncle Junior, remember we were playing Uno back then and you were beating me and then I finally beat
Yeah.
you. Those are the moments are I would say are more important. And
You-
always, like I said, make that choice.
So
Regardless.
if it was safe to say, Junior, I pressed you and said, what is it about your plan? I think you just struck on something that's super important that all people can resonate with. Investing has to be a lot more about just the dollars and shares.
Yeah.
You got to have some meaning behind this thing, man. You really do. I've got so much meaning on this thing, man, to where if in accordance with the current consensus in the stock market, that we've seen the best days of the market and the stock market will never go up again, I will take my entire net worth and I'll turn it over to my children and they'll start on their generation. Why? Because I just I just don't care as much about the money and the stock as I do about the plan and the
Mhm.
very financial security. If it doesn't see, okay, let me talk tongue in cheek. If it doesn't provide it for me, which is my financial goal, if I can provide myself some financial security into my future, lovely. But what's the worst that happens? I go back to where I came from, and that's no money. You talked a little bit about changing your family dynamic. I don't come from money, Junior. I don't. For me to come onto a social media, I say that openly, not to for people to judge me one way or the other. That's just a
Mhm.
fact, you know. And I wouldn't change my upbringing for nothing, because now the amount of appreciation that I have, my friends, for the things that I've earned and really worked hard to achieve, they're sweeter to somebody like myself. They are. And if I could just give somebody the appreciation that I feel for things, I would. But I know carte blanche that there's a lot of people who come onto my message and they listen to everything that I say, and they are incapable of receiving what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
They're incapable because of privilege. Yep.
And it's that saying, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain, and don't ever look at setback as failure as a setback. Failure is is our best teacher. There's I told you before, when I first came on, the reason I started investing because I was frustrated with my previous job, right? I made that choice. I could have been in the truck bickering, saying life's not fair, this job's not fair, but I utilized that time to, like, you know what? Let me find something, right? Let me make that choice to find something. And maybe it's because I'm a Gemini. I'm a big horoscope guy. I feel like Geminis are very passionate. Hence why
Good.
you have your
Yep.
Allen Iverson, your Donald Trump, even Kanye West. I'm not gonna talk about Kanye West too much,
I
but
know.
even
It's
him,
all good. Yeah.
there's a level of passion. Whether if you agree with this message or not, he's got this passion. I always feel like Geminis have this crazy passion, but that's just how I am. I'm just
Yeah.
resilient to just keep finding answers and understanding too. And my wife has told me a lot of these values to understand that it's more than just the markets. Let's go for a bike ride. Let's take a trip. We went to Europe for 2.5 weeks on our honeymoon. We went to Greece
What?
and Italy. Yeah, went to Greece and Italy, and it was awesome because you got a chance to see what's out there, understanding the euros. That was the first time spending euros. Now I just realized our currency is more than the euro.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
I
man.
think people should understand our currency is stronger than the euro, and I believe the pound. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, in
I think
England.
we
Yeah.
might be,
Yeah.
which is, if you do your research, that's incredible when you
Yeah.
look at this country. I mean, but it's one of those things where, like, at the end of the day, is you got to make that choice, folks. You make that choice, you stick to your plan, just stay consistent, and whatever happens, understand your values and the people around you that love you the most. That's what's more important, the people that love you the most, because that's where the real value is, right? Is to have to be surrounded by people that genuinely love you for who you are, you know.
No. Well stated, man. Well stated. I got on this interesting thought pattern today when I locked my apartment, and I was thinking to myself, man, isn't this crazy cool? Just something as simple as security. You know, um, when you talk about family, you talk about employment. I know me and you are, we're working class. We're both blue collar workers, and I wouldn't presume that you like your job, but I think it's the byproduct of what you get out of having a secure job and insurance and those types of benefits is, a lot of the reason why at least I do what it is that I do. Hopefully, I would wish upon you, my brother, that you have some upward mobility as well. That's another thing that's pretty cool is like if you work really hard, you can actually move up
Yeah.
and make more money because you don't get any younger, and it's nice to have that expertise acknowledged in way of compensation. I don't know, it's been a while since you've been on the channel, but a couple weeks ago I found I got a big piece of news in my career. That's why I'm here in New York City.
Nice,
And I'll be
man.
and I'll be here too, man. Me and you need to hook up.
Oh
We need to
yeah.
hook up, me and you, brother. Now we're up here, and I'd love to see you, man. There's no doubt. We go downtown all the time, but you're right. And the reason why I mentioned the key in the lock and the security is that everybody's talking about recession, but when you ask somebody what their definition of recession is, a lot of people have no idea what that potentially means. See, I think we've been in a stock market downtrend for the last 2 years. And I'm the only one who speaks like that. I listen to CNBC when it's up 900 in the market, and they have all the bulls come on, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be a soft landing, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then like today, man, I had a guy coming on and arguing with Stephanie Link, who's really one of my favorite investors. She's a fantastic investor, and she was talking about the difference between the S&P valuation at 17 times and
Mhm.
some of these companies that are trading at single digit forward
Yeah.
PEs, and it's like they're already there. Like, how much lower do you expect that they're going to go? We've re-rated the stock market to understand that when times turn and they get better, where else do you want to be but the USA?
Oh
Where do
yeah.
you want to be? These are attractive markets. even right now with the volatility and the people who are like, nah, I can't touch it, blah, 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 eventually that sentiment is going to shift. And there's going to be a new, renewed hunger for some bullish conviction to the upside. And I will be around to see it. And I won't apologize to people. I'm just trying to chronicle the good times and the bads. And I would
Mhm.
chalk up the last 24 months as being fairly, I guess, bad times, I guess. I hate to say that because my life goes on, Junior.
Oh yeah.
I don't not go to work. As a matter of fact, I double down on those things that do help me focus on other things. I was in the gym again this week, 5 days a week. Boom, 5 o'clock in the morning. Savage. The only one in there.
Yeah.
Do those
And
things, man. Improve upon your diet, knock out a vice, whatever you can do. All right. The stock market and your money in general should not rule you. You should rule your money. So if it takes not taking your entire financial nest egg and throwing it at the whims of the stock market, then don't do that. Don't
yeah.
do that. Take 25% of your wealth. See how deep I can cut? But don't go so deep as to suggest that you can make it financially without the complements of investing or becoming a participant. It's not going to work for you. All right. You got to take some risk in life.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you don't. I don't know.
And that's the I was making that was what I was mentioning before, the choice, right? Make that choice. And like I mentioned earlier in the stream, right? They talk about obviously, and those are reason why they talk about these tech companies, your Google, Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, Amazon, Apple, because obviously they weigh so much in the
Yeah.
overall market, right? And those are great companies because obviously people use them, right? Even though Tesla's a good interesting story because I know with Elon Musk with Twitter and
Yeah.
everything. If
Yeah.
he still holds shares, good for you guys. That's I mean, some people made incredible returns the past couple of years, but like I mentioned before, look at some other companies that are not mentioned. Like Campbell Soup, and I mean, I know that's run up, but
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are certain markets where
Yeah.
if they don't talk about it as much, then maybe there's a reason why, right? They're not tech companies, but you can make some capital appreciation, some great dividend stocks, right? That are out there, Johnson and Johnson. I think
Tech. Yeah, tech might outperform. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just
yeah,
want to mention and double stomp this. Tech may outperform next year just because it's got so far to go to recover. But I
yeah,
think staples are going to be the real winner next year. That's my call. I
yeah.
think healthcare will continue to do well.
Mhm.
Healthcare is a fantastic. It's been the outperformer this year. I think real estate will suffer next year, and it's going to suffer in a big way. But I think Staples is going to be where it's at. I think your Mondelez, I think your Procter and Gamble's, I think
Yeah,
those companies are going to be worth looking at. I love Campbell's. I like Hershey's. I like Kellogg. I mean,
Hershey's,
you talk
yeah,
about Colgate Palmolive. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff you can take a look at. I've owned Kimberly Clark for a long, long time. Um, I think that's going to be an interesting segment in the market to take a look at. All benefit from a lot of different ways. I own the entire sector in my
mhm,
sector portfolio, and then I own some of the single stocks strategically in some of the dividend elements of the portfolio, as
okay,
well as in the Roth IRA. So it works.
yeah. Oh, and you mentioned the Roth. For folks
Mhm.
that don't know, they're going to increase the Roth contribution to 6,500.
I didn't know that, Junior.
Yep,
Thank
start
you. That's a
20.
fantastic. Wow,
So
good stuff.
2023, folks, the Roth IRA contributions are 6,500. Obviously, if you're over the age of 50, that's
Hmm.
7,500. And
Yeah,
I believe they're increasing 401k contributions. So if you do get a match, that'll be awesome for those who have 401ks. And I think traditional too, I believe. Yeah, so they all tied in together. So yeah,
I don't get a match. Do you get a match with yours, with the company?
no, no,
Nah,
they
I
my
don't.
so my company doesn't do a match for 401k. So that's why I mean I don't do a 401k with the company. So if they're not giving a match, I'm not gonna put my money in the 401k. It's pretty much a high growth mutual fund. That's why I look at 401ks, especially if you don't get a match. But
I
that's
know.
just
I
that's
know.
just my opinion. But they I
No,
have a
it's a good.
bank.
It's justified. I don't get a match, Junior.
Mhm,
I've always just siphoned a little bit off and put it in
mhm,
there. I started it 10 years ago,
mhm.
and I sniffed 65,000 bucks out of it in 10 years, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know how. I started
Yeah,
with
well,
3%. If I was going to get some matching out of that, like my wife now has got matching with CVS, which is
okay,
actually cool. She's the only 401k winner that actually has a matching, and I tell you what, it compounds quickly. So I
nice.
think the lesson to your point is if you do have the matching, I think you'd be kind of crazy not to participate. I'm
Oh
one
yeah,
without the matching, but I do it anyway. And I've been able to build that up fairly successfully too, just because I'm a saver and it's another avenue. It's just another
Mm.
bucket that I can play with those index funds through the thrift savings plan for government workers,
Oh, the
Yeah.
you have the TSP. I
hmm
I
hmm
I almost had the TSP because I was gonna work for the U.S. Postal Service, and they talked about it, and I asked the gentleman, I was like, "How much you match for the Roth?" They do 5%,
That's awesome. It's
5%.
free money in this country. There's people around the
Yeah,
world that are starving, brother. They're
yeah,
starving. They're having a hard time, and that's I hate to be like I hate to be to force people to be like I don't know, apologetic for where you live. I don't believe in any of that. All I'm asking for is just a little bit of appreciation. All of it. You know?
yeah,
And just to stop for a second to realize those things that you have that are worth acknowledging. And now's the time to do it during the year. Now's the
oh
time.
yeah,
Block all that other stuff out. Turn it off if you need to. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You're not going to do any. I mean, now that you've told me about the 6,500, I'll be there January 1, just like I always am with my
oh
Roth
yeah,
contributions times two, man. I'll be at cool 13 grand, ready
oh
to
yeah.
rock. Yeah, no,
Let it go. I just wanted to bring that value out there to you and
that,
to everybody else in the live stream.
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, good stuff, man. I got a couple minutes, Junior. You want to stay on to the end, or you want to sign off? Tell Ashley hi for me.
I
Congrats
will.
to you guys, man. I love you both, man. You're fantastic, and like I said, we're neighbors now. All right.
Yes,
So if
we
you
got.
fancy a meetup downtown in the Times Square, I don't know, it doesn't get any bigger than that. Let's rock it out, man, for sure.
I'm a
Um,
train right away. Definitely.
Heck yeah, man. All right, my brother. Be well, man. Don't be a
Yeah.
stranger. You're VIP on the channel always, man. And it's great to see you again, Junior. Happy holidays to you and the family.
Yes, you as well. Thank you, Ryan, for having me on, and everybody in the live stream. Enjoy your night, folks, and enjoy your holidays as well too.
You the man. Take it easy,
Oh,
Junior.
all right, you too, Ryan.
All right, buddy. Yeah, so that's what it's about, community. That's for sure. As we wrap it down, I try to finish up a little bit on if there's any comments or any questions from me from this week. Super, super important that we continue to remain consistent on the message. Super important. It's cool, man, when I have somebody to throw comments against and Junior coming on and sharing his comments and perspective, right? So I know at least there's somebody else out there that shares in this whole idea that being a participant in the market doesn't have to be wishy-washy. It can be ironclad. Make a decision. If you make the decision to enter into financial markets at the very, very worst time, there's statistics that are, I believe, codified in the Intelligent Investor that would suggest that if you invest at the very, very worst time in the market, okay, as compared to what has been historically the best time in the market, okay, and you caught that and you invested at the very best time in the market as opposed to the very worst time in the market, if you held true in either one of those test cases, both of those investors, there would be a 3% difference in the rate of return over time that you would get. That's it. So the idea is that you take a step back and say holistically, how can I participate in financial markets? Is it good? Well, it's not 29,000, but it's also not 36,000 where it was, beginning of last year when we entered into this year and we didn't know where things were going to shape up. I think we've done a very aggressive round robin on the S&P 500 of the last 6 months. We're back where we started this summer, basically. And we've made a lot of noise for a whole lot of churn, and it's generated a whole lot of news in the market. I think what we need to do is we need to take stock of everything that's happened and everything that could have potentially influenced decisions for investors, YouTube content creators that come and they freaking go, whoop-de freaking do. I'll be one of those funny guys that while I'm watching people exit from the channel and I say good riddance, they're not, they're not resonating with my message. And that's totally fine. I can say this with 100% confidence. I don't succumb to the whims of pressure of stock market or the determinations of what others feel like they need out of me on YouTube. I don't do that, which is again one of the very reasons why you should absolutely subscribe to the channel and become part of the message here, because in 10, 20 years it's all going to make sense as to what we did, what we discussed, how we look to empower people, how we look at making sure that people. I got to get Moki Finance on the channel, man. I haven't seen this cat for a long time. We talk about our OGs on the channel. Moki's always part of the family. Absolutely. He says, I'm so rich, I had to go back to work. I tell you what, man, I'm not one of those people that scoff at work, and I enjoy my profession, man. I dig it. I make a little coin on the side. I'm good. Look, I'd be bored as hell. I'd be bored as hell. I motivate myself to do, side projects and the independent investor channel. I love this project, but to an extent, okay, to an extent. And I often tell people, there's no way I could imagine myself doing social media to pay the rent, support the family, expect that I have to sell some people on what it is that I need to sell them on without changing my personality. Why? So I can buy my kids clothes. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. No, no. Until I can be proven otherwise, I'll continue to do what it is that I do with my current project. And it's super important for people to understand the path that I've taken and the path that will inevitably lead to a successful reaching of those financial goals that I've established. Whatever it is that you have for yours is great for you too. I can sit across from a YouTube audience and tell you that I'm rest assured it's inevitable that I will make it. Now I'm here to share that journey with you guys, and absolutely look forward to the future with hope, not despair. I'm absolutely hopeful now, and the more noise that I hear about volatility in the stock market, the more aggressive I get, and the more I dig my heels in on taking advantage of opportunity that could potentially streamline my opportunity to get to my goals sooner than later. Guys, I appreciate you. I really do. We'll be back next Friday on the Independent Investor Channel live stream. It's super wonderful to be with you guys. Enjoy the rest of your guys' weekend. We will catch you next week. Guys, take it easy.